Hey everyone, it's a great day to be here with you all. This week we have celebrated by the time you hear this, the 4th of July.
That's right.
And this year is a special year as we're celebrating the 250th anniversary of America, of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, right? And so I'm here today with Scott and our friend Josh Freddy.
Hey.
Josh is a worship pastor here at our church, and he has a unique story that we're going to dive into here in a minute. But I just wondered, what do you guys love about the 4th of July? Do you like the 4th of July?
Love the 4th of July.
Why do you love it?
Huge fan. Talent shows.
Everything about it. Talent shows. I love fireworks and hot dogs.
And
then car
dogs.
shows. I think that's another thing too.
Yeah, it's a thing now.
That is a
It
thing.
is a thing
It is a
now.
thing.
I
Yeah.
agree.
Totally.
That was never a thing before, but it is. And
Yes.
I like them as well.
Yeah. Totally.
I think it's really, really, really great. So
In the town I grew up in, we had a tractor show
Ooh.
and a tractor pull
there you go.
during the 4th
Did you get
of
to ride
July. No, I did. Well, sometimes in the
Yeah.
parade.
Yes.
My great-grandpa had some tractors, so sometimes we would ride them in
That's
the parade.
That is awesome.
This is why I love the 4th of July.
Yes.
That is
There's
awesome.
just so much around
Oh,
it. There's
yeah.
so much around it.
Yes.
And so today we're celebrating the freedom that we have here in our country. It is something to celebrate.
It is.
I think that can be a conversation sometimes, but it is something to celebrate because we have unique freedoms that not everyone else has.
Yeah. I think it's been interesting because the World Cup has been here.
Oh, yeah.
And listening to people from other countries talk about America has been interesting. I don't know if you followed that at all.
Like a little bit here and there.
People loved Buc-ee's. Like if you don't know what a Buc-ee's is out there, travel through the South. It's kind of like a 7-Eleven, but amazingly better.
Can I say something about the Buc-ee's?
Yeah, say
My-
something about
Sure
Buc-ee's.
can.
My parents were here last summer, and they literally thought it's the best thing that's happening in America right now.
Yeah, Buc-ee's was voted really, really high by all these
They
folks.
literally took 20 pictures right next to that statue, and they were like, "This is awesome." And then while they're eating the barbecue sandwiches, it was like, "Okay,
That's
this is America."
America.
Yeah, this is America. Yeah, air conditioning was a close second.
I heard something about unlimited refills and
Yes.
condiments, like ranch
Yes.
dressing.
Yes.
Like that was something that people were jazzed about.
Yeah. And I think that they were just amazed at the level of freedom and what you could do here.
Yeah.
And so that was, I think, pretty cool in that as well. But yeah, we are particularly those of us who've been born here and haven't traveled extensively. You kind of just think this is how the world is, and it
Right.
really isn't. And we live in a amazing space where people have thought about it and died for it
Yeah.
to create this. And so to me, that's a special piece of this holiday as well.
Yeah.
I was sharing just before this that I took an opportunity to reread the Declaration of Independence today.
Such a feat.
I know it is. I know. I feel very proud of myself. But it's an interesting document, and most people only know the second paragraph. And there's a lot to it and a lot that it says. And the thing that it made me think of today, there was a group of men that really thought about these things.
Yeah.
Like they didn't just think about it once they got together.
Yeah.
They had been thinking about it, and they came up with some ideas that were, revolutionary is to undersell it, I think, a little bit. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but
sound effect would have been great.
But it's pretty amazing, and the challenge, of course, is they came up with some very, very large ideas.
Yeah.
And one of those is equality. That literally, in the eyes of the law, all human beings are equal. And that was revolutionary. You've heard the old saying, mind your elders. Have you heard that? It's actually not the old saying.
Oh.
The old saying is mind your elders and your betters.
I have heard that. Yes.
Yeah, and betters mean the people who are born better than you.
Wow.
And so there's a real sense in America, we said there are no betters.
Yeah.
And we're all just us. And whether you're rich or poor or tall or short or whatever, you're equal. And you're equal in the eyes of the law. And not only that, but there's dignity that you have inalienable rights given to you by God by the very fact that you're created by Him, and that there's liberty. And those ideas are a really big deal.
Yeah.
And I look at that and I think, man, we have been the beneficiary of a lot of good things in that. And so it just kind of blows me away when I think about those things and I think about what they were trying to do and the risk level that they were taking, frankly.
Yes.
I don't think anybody would have bet on them. I look at this and I'm like, I don't think this was a good bet. Like that would have been a rough ride, but they did. And we, have enjoyed all those things. And as Christians, I think even more so because we get a chance to fully and freely worship Jesus with no hindrance whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah. And Josh, you have a unique story of coming to the United States. And you did that when you were 18?
Yeah, I was 18.
Is that right?
Yeah. Back in 2008.
Yeah, 2008.
Yeah.
So I would love for you just to tell a little bit of your story. Like where did you come from, first of all? And and how did you make that decision?
Yeah.
And why did you come, and what has that journey been like?
Yeah, it's a long story, but I think I'm a man who had a dream and faith in Jesus when all of this started. I'm born and raised in India. I'm still an Indian citizen. I have an Indian passport, but I hold a American green card, which allows me to do everything minus vote. So eventually, one day when I become a citizen, I can vote. But until then, I'm just going to keep my political, knowledge to myself and the Lord. But my story is I actually grew up in a Christian home. The cool thing about, I think, my lineage is if you know anything about India, India is known for Hinduism and all the crazy stuff there. So actually, I'm the 7th generation of Christians in my family.
No way.
And it's actually, I don't know, but
so
until
you're like the 7th son.
Yeah. I didn't know, but until actually, I want to say 20, no, not 20 years ago, probably about 15 years ago is when actually my parents took me to this church in one of the southern parts of India. And, we walked in, it was probably the size of this recording room right here,
which is not very big.
No,
it's not.
Yeah.
You can maybe fit 20 people comfortably in here. But it was cool because it had the signature of this person, and I had no idea what that signature was. My dad was like, "Hey, that is your great granddad who used to be the translator for this German missionary who came years ago. And while in the process, while he was actually translating the gospel, the Holy Spirit fell on him, and he was like, something's happening to me. Explain to me what are you talking about? Who is this God you're talking about? And the preacher was like, well, you experienced the Holy Spirit, and you should give your life right now. Wow. And he did, and that started something in my lineage family. So he started a bunch of churches in South India, close to 200 churches.
That's
so he would
cool.
go around the Indian very dense forests and preach the gospel. Was persecuted for it. But anyways, that started then. So at a very young age, growing up, my parents were like, hey, you are someone who's going to actually do the Lord's work. And I think there's going to be a time when the Lord's going to actually make it abundantly clear to you what that looks like. And they told me that when I was 10 years old. And I was like, I don't know what that means. It feels like a lot of pressure because I'm only 10. But I kind of just held it to my heart, and I was like, God, I think you're going to open up doors, right? So while that was actually happening on the spiritual realm of things, in the physical side of it, my family at this point had moved from India to the Middle East. So I was 9 years old. Both my parents have been in ministry pretty much all their lives. My dad's a worship pastor and a pastor. My mom...
I didn't know your dad was a worship pastor.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cool.
I know. And my mom is an English teacher. So I just felt like the Lord was doing something cool even with that, at a very young age. So when I was 10, my family moved to Dubai because my mom actually got a job as an English teacher at a school in Dubai. So we moved, and then a year later, my entire family moved out there. But I say all of this because as this was happening on the back end, I was kind of raised by secondhand like American lifestyle living, because all my friends are, even back then, were Americans. I was listening to the Eagles pretty much every day.
That's awesome.
So I was raised up by the Eagles and the Beatles and
Were you listening to that on 8-track or what, man?
Sometimes, but CDs were a thing back then.
Yeah.
And I'm a 90s kid, so but yeah, that, and then like I said, like my dad's a worship pastor, so music was always around. There was a drum kit and guitar in the house, so music was kind of like the common thread that I brought a lot of like things together. So my earliest memories were like listening to vineyard music and playing, and even then the Lord was like kind of just stirring something in my heart of like, hey, like, this is what you're gonna do when you grow up. Is I've given you a gift. I want you to use this for my glory and for my honor. But back then, again, I had no idea of how this was gonna land. But when I was 16 years old, also I had to mention I was also raised by Focus on the Family, McGee and Me. So I don't know if you guys know that show. So it was. If you don't, you should check it out. I don't think they play it anymore, but wholesome 90s Christian show. It's really good. So the church that I grew up in, they had a library that this church was actually started by American missionaries in the Middle East where we lived, and every time they would come here for summer, they would bring back VHS of American movies and McGee and Me and all the worship CDs, and I would go check them out and listen to him and watch him. And I was always so intrigued by the culture. And I was like, this is actually really cool. At that young age, I was like, I wasn't very passionate about being an Indian or being a Middle Eastern, because I'm like, I don't know who I am yet. I'm trying to figure this out. So I felt like God kind of used, media in a good way to mold some of my values. I'm thankful that I grew up in a Christian home that held biblical values really well. So growing up, I was like, God, I think I want to do music. And in the eyes of how I was seeing that's going to work out, was I want to go to America, and I want to travel. I want to travel playing music. And in a mind of a 16-year-old, you're just dreaming about how that looks like being on a tour bus, playing in stadiums and whatever. But the cool thing in that, I think we'll probably get into it later, is God taught me about surrender, what that looks like. So I gave it all up, and I was like, Lord, these are my dreams, but I want you to take the driver's seat and not me, and you tell me what to do. And long story short, it's actually kind of a cool, miraculous story. I ended up at Judson University, which is in Elgin, Illinois, back in 2008. But ended up doing business management as my degree because I was
which is sort of like going on a tour.
Yes, yeah, pretty much. Exactly. But my parents were like, we want you to get a business degree, because if you are not able to live out your dreams, you can't come back to the Middle East or to India with a music degree and find a job, which I thought was very smart for them to say that. Back then I kind of, pushed back. I was like, no, I'm going to find a music gig. And they're like, no, you're not. You're not going to do that. So thankful for my parents parenting at that point. But yeah, long story short, that's what brought me here. So I've been here since 2008, graduated with a business degree, and I was part of a church at that point. When I graduated, they took a chance on me. They're like, hey, I think we want you to, live in America and kind of pursue what the Lord has put in your heart. We want to support that. And they opened up a door for me to work at that church. And then that just led to one thing after the other. Actually met my wife, Cassie, at that church. Got married to her, and we've been married for 10 years now. And we have two boys, a 7-year-old named Zylan, and then a 16-month-old named Oakland. And now I'm on staff here at the chapel. So it's been a wild ride, but definitely all glory to God for that, because,
But you did actually go on tour.
I did go on tour.
I just want to point that out.
Yes, I did
what you
we
set out to do.
went right to Judson and Business Administration, but I do want to point out that you did go on tour.
I did.
So, yeah.
I did. The Lord was gracious enough to, give that desire of my heart, and I'm so thankful for it, because there's some seasons where, I've learned some good things and I've learned some hard things, and this journey, and I'll look back at it now, has been very fruitful. and it's also been like really hard as well. Like I think I said in the beginning of this that I'm like my story is a classic immigrant story. Like I wanted to give, I would say, myself and I would even say my kids a better future.
Yeah.
And that's when I said, I was like, Lord, like, I don't know what that looks like for me, because I think if I take freedom on my own end, it's going to be striving. But I think if it's freedom from your end, you're going to take the driver's seat and you're going to guide me. And I learned that when I was 16 years old, because I had certain dreams in my heart. I was like, this is how I think it's going to pan out. If I go to this college and do this, I can do the touring and whatever.
Right.
And that didn't work out. And Lord quickly said no, and he's like, surrender and I'll show you something else. And I think looking back at it now, the touring life and what I get to do now is way more better than what I thought it was going to pan out if I did it on my own.
Yeah.
So
That's so good. Josh, I've
awesome.
seen, I kind of gotten a front row seat, at least during your time at the chapel, to
Yes.
see you wrestle with some of this like tension between like pursuing your dream, right? And or like the American dream, and then like what God's dream for you and partnering with him in that. And I think a cool thing is like you came to the chapel from like the touring world and some stuff, but you came into a position that was not music related
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
And so you had surrendered at that moment to God of just like, hey, God, whatever you have next
Yeah.
for me, I'm going to step into. And you actually stepped into like our digital, like manager position, managing
Yeah.
all of the digital spaces.
Yeah.
But now you're back
Yeah.
in worship.
100%, yeah.
And so I'm just wondering for you, like that tension between pursuing like the American dream and which is essentially like our dream, right? Like America tells us like, hey, pursue whatever dream you have and you can do it, right? Which is amazing that we get to do
Right.
that here. But then God says, hey, actually dream with me,
Right.
right? And do this with me. How have you experienced that tension
Yeah.
during your time here? And
100%. I think it's been a refining process for sure. I think, like I said, one of the things I had to learn really quickly is letting God take the driver's seat and not myself. Because I think if I held the tension of, I want to pursue this and this and this, and this is how I imagine it to be, I'm going to probably find myself striving for things. Maybe I might find some success in it. It's cool. Like if you look at some of the most like wealthiest people, if you interview them, they have everything that they got. They got all the money, all the fast cars, but they'll probably be like, yeah, something is missing, right? And I think about that a lot of times because I'm like, because if I thank the Lord for the Holy Spirit and me knowing who Jesus is and his presence in my life, if it wasn't for him, I feel like I would have probably ended up that way. Not to be the wealthiest man, but pursuing something and
Right.
finding myself in a place where I'm like, what is this all about? Like questioning, what did I even do with my life? And I think that actually, like I realized that at a very young age. So when I came to this position at the chapel, like I was doing something with music which felt really good, but I also came to a point where I was kind of exhausted. I think that's a story on its own.
Yeah.
Like I was spiritually and emotionally and mentally also very exhausted, and God was like, "Hey, I'm going to ask you to do something that's really hard, and I need you to obey, which is say no to this and just trust in me." And I think I've seen God do crazy things in my life. So when he asked me to do that, I'm like, okay, God, like this is not going to be easy, but I'm just going to trust you because I've seen you over and over again do the impossible in my life. The fact that, when I share my story with some of my friends, even from the Middle East or India, they're like, dude, how did this happen? I'm like, it's God, dude. Like I had a dream and I surrendered it and God made it happen. So when it comes to this tension for me, it was just like, okay, God, you're opening up a door. I'm gonna step into it, and the refining process is that I'm gonna let go of what I think would be best for my life. Because to me, it was like, well, you've given me talents that I want to use, but when he's like, no, actually, I want you to put that aside for a little bit because I'm actually gonna rewrite your identity. Because that's what it was for me, was that my identity was so caught up in like Josh Freddy being the drummer. So when I was done with that, I was actually questioning of like, who is Josh?
Yeah.
And friends would be like, well, you're a dad, you're a husband. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but I don't think it's actually really, I'm feeling it in my soul yet. And the Lord had to give me a break from what I loved so much and be like, I'm going to rewrite all of this. I'm going to refine you. And then I'm going to bring you back to what you really love, but I'm going to like fully renew that vision. And that's what it's been. And I feel like the Lord's still doing that, and it's been really good. Every day feels like, honestly, a dream, you know.
Living the dream.
Yeah. So, but yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I do want to point out that you're being humble because you really could have pursued the world. Josh is an incredibly talented drummer.
Yeah, like national caliber.
Incredibly
drummer.
Well, thanks,
talented.
guys.
And
Thanks,
so
guys, for
it
that.
would have been very easy for you to pursue the world and all the world has to offer in the music industry and all of that. And so your surrender to the Lord in that is not small, was not small, does not continue to be small. And so I just want to affirm that in you.
Thank you.
Like it's a big surrender, and it's a good yes that you have given him. You touched on something a little bit earlier, and it was this comparing the freedoms.
Yeah.
Right? The freedom that we have here in America, which we celebrate, right? And the freedom that comes in Christ, in Jesus, and our identity in him and in life with him. And I'm wanting to kind of break that down a little bit. Scott, can you help us kind of dive into,
Sure.
like, how do we compare, contrast those two things?
Yeah, I think when we normally as Americans, when we talk about freedom, we're talking about the ability to do what we want. That there's not a barrier in our way to doing what we want. And the Bible talks about it a little bit differently. It talks about freedom from and freedom to.
Yeah.
We get set free from all the things that hold us down and don't allow us to become who we can truly be.
Yeah.
And freedom to enter a life with Jesus and have his presence fill us and allow us to become like him.
Yeah.
And so it's in the way the Bible talks about freedom, it's a lot more about who we can become and what the chains that are broken on us that are holding us in place. And I think both those ideas are very compatible and they fit well together.
Yeah.
When you live in a place that gives you the ability to pursue what you want to do, and then what you want to do is live in Christ, you can do that. And there's nothing that's really standing in the way of that. And that's a powerful and beautiful thing. But it's also possible to do whatever you want, but not be able to find freedom in Christ. And I think that's, to me, I always feel sad for people because I'm like, if you love freedom, you haven't known the fullest expression of it.
Yeah.
And because the fullest expression is really when we start to experience a new life,
Right.
a new way to be human in the way we talk about it, right? And I just think that's a different thing.
Yeah.
Were there moments for you guys, like what was the moment that freedom in Jesus became real for you? Can you define that or
That's a
like
really good
circle
question.
back around to it in your story at all?
Yeah. I think for me personally, the Lord keeps teaching me freedom over and over again. I feel like it's in different like stages and different depths. I think the first depth for me was when I was 16 years old, when I was trying to like figure out what my future looked like. And like I said, I think I said it a few minutes ago. I think an earthly freedom lends to striving for things, whereas I think the heavenly freedom comes from a place of surrender. Like once you give it all up and just resting from a place of like, I'm not going to be anxious about this anymore. I'm not going to worry about it because God's presence is going to lead me. At least that's what it feels like to me. But I have to be reminded of that because my flesh is always fighting for control. My flesh is like, I think you need to strive for this. You need to have it because the world tells me that if I have a certain thing, if I have a certain title or position, that's actually going to give me more freedom to whatever. But it's not that. It's surrendering all of it and just letting Jesus guide you in it. But
That's so good.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think definitely for me it's come in stages as well. I mean, I think the first freedom I felt was the freedom to be separated from really bad decisions.
Wow. Like that you had made.
That I had been making.
Yeah.
That I had made and was making. And it wasn't even that good things had happened. It's just that bad things stopped happening.
Wow.
And I think I felt like an enormous relief. And I think at that time I imagined that's all I got. Like but I was pretty satisfied. Like I felt like that was a pretty good thing.
This is it.
This is it. If we can eliminate some of this, I feel pretty good about it.
That's so true, though.
It is. It really is. And I think it wasn't until years later that I started realizing, like, when you follow Jesus, there's an additive effect that accumulates over time.
Yep.
And like you just start to become a different person, live a different life, have different relationships. And that's a whole different,
Bless you.
thing. And I think that was a second experience for me of starting to realize, wow, there is a goodness in this and a peace in this. And I think a third is what you mentioned. I was late to really handing him the outcome of my life. I held that pretty tight.
Yeah.
And I was scared.
Yeah.
And I think that was a third dynamic for me. So it's kind of come at parts of just relaxing and releasing into God and trusting him to do that, which, I don't know. How about you, Ellie?
Yeah, I think for me, it's similar, right? Of this constant like building upon itself that you experience in having a relationship with Jesus. I think some of the same things that you said, Scott, of like initially just freedom from like certain things that were just like defining me or holding me. And that freedom was big. But I think the biggest moment for me, honestly, was an identity work as well. And I can remember it. I was a young, new mom. And I am a recovering workaholic. I know that surprises everyone. But I really just, my whole, like, from college and even that point on, like, into, for a long time, was just finding my identity constantly in my work and what I was doing. And so I was working nonstop, just trying to build for something that would be, that represented myself, essentially. And in that, I remember coming to the end of myself when I was like, pregnant with my second son and my first son, second child, and my daughter was 4 and I had just lost my job. And I'll never forget, like, sitting on the floor of our townhouse with this giant pregnant belly and just, like, releasing all of that identity to the Lord. And I just said, like, Lord, whatever I do next, I just want you to be in it. Like, I don't want this, like, I don't want to try to build myself anymore. I don't want to do any of that, Lord. I just want to find you in whatever it is that I'm doing. And that was a huge moment for me. And I literally remember the physical feeling of that moment of releasing that to him. And since then, it's been a rebuilding journey with him of my identity. And funny enough, the next job he brought me to was the chapel.
Wow.
Look at that.
Wow.
So this was not that long ago, you guys. And it's just been a crazy journey with him of that. But he has rebuilt my identity and things before that were really hard for me. Parenting was really hard for me because it was sacrifice of self, right?
Yeah.
Like when you become a parent, you give all of yourself to your kids. And I would feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm just losing time doing this motherly thing. And now I find such great joy in losing time that way. Like it is a gift to lose time that way and spend time that way. And so that was a huge freedom moment for me. Yeah.
It's an interesting thing. You would think that freedom would be easy to fall into.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like of all the things that you look at it, like I would think, learning how to share your faith, that's not easy to fall into. Right.
Yeah.
I think, gosh, learning, theology, that's not as easy to fall into.
Yeah.
Being free.
Yeah, I can do that.
I should be able to jump off the diving board into that, right?
Yeah.
Like that shouldn't take a ton of me, but it isn't. It's funny. We get conditioned, I think, in ways that are not free. And we get very used to an established way that binds us without knowing that. And freedom can feel awkward.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
there's it's the countercultural piece of
Yes.
freedom in the kingdom, right? And
Yeah.
freedom in Jesus. That is really hard to grasp.
Yeah.
right.
Because we're told that freedom is, like you said earlier, the ability to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jesus is like, no, to
Yeah.
find yourself, you got to lose yourself first.
Yeah.
And so
Right.
it's not about you
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah. I think like in our society, freedom means being reckless. Do whatever you want. And I think Bible calls it to be, I think you actually have a responsibility now.
Yeah.
You know, you have to carry something.
That's true.
You know, so I think that's, and the more and more you strip yourself of it and become more like Jesus, I think you understand the responsibility, and that probably impacts how you carry yourself daily and how it affects everyone too.
Yeah.
So,
How would you guys define that responsibility that comes with the freedom
It's greatness.
that we have?
It's
Tell
greatness.
me about that.
Yeah. I mean, people don't like to think of it that way. But it is. Jesus is great.
Yeah.
And one of the elements, if you're going to be like Jesus, is you're going to be great.
How do you define great?
You're going to do things that are beyond you to do, and you're going to do them in a way that is holy and that is good, and that people are going to almost pause just because of the breathtaking beauty and goodness that is going to come out of what you do. And it won't be because you are that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
It will be because God living in you is doing that in you.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I love watching greatness develop. It can be a 7-year-old little girl.
Yeah.
I mean, she can all of a sudden have a purity of prayer, and
Yeah.
the whole room stops.
Yeah.
I mean, literally everybody stops and looks at that little girl, and they're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like I see Jesus in you. It can be, someone who has a very simple life, but they give of what they have in a sacrificial and a profound way, and you look at that person and you're like, man, I don't know that I could have done that, and that is a powerful thing. But I think that we shy away from the idea of greatness because it sounds prideful, it sounds
Yeah.
arrogant.
Yeah. When you first said it,
Yeah,
I was
right.
like, wait.
I know, yeah, totally. I saw that go across your eyes. I saw that happen. But I actually think we actually need to accept that God is going to do great things.
He doesn't have small dreams for us.
He
No.
doesn't.
Yeah.
He doesn't. And that's why, when you talk about responsibility, that's why responsibility exists.
Yeah.
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 And when we are able to partner with him in life, I think that's true. I mean, we've talked to all of our kids about it.
Yeah.
And don't if you're going to live your one life
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you've been given,
Right.
you can choose whatever you want. Personally, I wouldn't choose mediocrity.
Yeah.
That's good. Yeah.
Like I would reach for it. And if
Yeah.
you miss, so what? Reach again.
Yeah.
Reach again. Reach again.
Yeah.
What does it require of us to become great?
Nothing.
And everything.
Yes. Good answer. Yes.
We can't become great on our own. And so it's entirely about God living in us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is also the ability, Josh, to do what you said of just completely handing 100% of your life to God and saying, do with it what you want, as you want, when you want. And that's really unnerving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a much higher pain tolerance than I do. I have learned that.
Which is
over
amazing
time.
because you have an extremely high pain tolerance.
You really
I've
do.
heard stories.
Yeah. Well, the Lord's is a bit higher, and so you realize, like, okay, this could be really hard, and like this could be hard for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet there's a beauty on the other side of it that you're going to do. And so I think there's a cost, but I think it's so worth it.
Yeah.
It's interesting when I'm a bit older than either of you. I have socks older than you, Josh. And so, but when you get to this age, people's lives, when they diverge in Jesus, like
Yeah.
when one person goes hard after Jesus and one person goes hard after themselves, it can look almost identical in your 20s. Like it might not look that different.
That's a good point.
Or it might look better, frankly.
Right.
Yeah.
on the other end of it than what you're doing for Jesus.
Right.
But in your 30s, the
Yeah.
gap gets a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And in your 40s and 50s. And what your marriage and your kids look like in your 50s and 60s. And you're, are you settled and have you found peace? And is there beauty and joy inside your heart? And the answer to that is honestly often yes.
Yeah.
It really is. And I think when you haven't walked with Jesus, the answer becomes more ragged and stretched and hard.
Yeah.
And it is almost like this cry that I hear people my age who have not known Christ have.
Yeah.
And it's sad.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sad. But there's still deliverance, and they can still know,
Yeah.
who He is.
Yeah. Something that you said made me think of like the idea that God, He never promised us an easy life, right?
Yeah.
And there's
In fact, He promised us a hard life.
yeah, good, but hard.
Yeah.
And there is this reality that I think that when we live in this country with the luxuries that we have, like we have so many luxuries that we take for granted.
Yeah.
We were just talking before this about like people from other countries coming to the United States for the World Cup. Luxuries like ranch dressing and, extra Coke refills.
Yep.
But really, like the true luxuries that we have, we can count that as blessed, right?
Yeah.
Like, the blessing is the luxury of my life. But if you look at people in third world countries and in places where they don't have the freedoms that we have and the luxuries that we have, they found though freedom in Jesus.
Absolutely.
And I think that that's a radical thing for us to be able to comprehend. Like, how can you feel free in the life that you're living?
Yes. Some of the most amazing people, some of the greatest people that I have ever met are desperately poor.
Yeah.
And I remember actually in India, I was in a city and I was in a group of 50 pastors, and I had lunch with them prior to, I was supposed to do a teaching. And during the lunch, I had this thought, what in the world am I doing teaching these people? I think they should teach me.
Wow.
And so I threw that out as a thought, which none of them really were very excited about. And I'm like, tell you what, why don't we compromise?
Yeah.
I'll teach for an hour, and then you guys come up to the microphone as God gives you a word, and you teach us.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was absolutely the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because there was a beauty in that room, and there was a dignity in that room, and their poverty didn't define them, and the amount of persecution, which was substantial, that these guys had been through, did not define them. Their joy, and you come out of a moment like that, and you're changed.
Yeah.
You don't walk out of that room the same you walked in, right?
Right.
And you're in there, and you're like, I see what you did here, God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see what you need, and I see what you don't need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a really life-changing experience for me.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm learning more and more now is, what am I dependent on, right? I think about humility a lot when it comes to even the question that you just asked, like how do we get to this point? It's humility, but also I think it's dependency too, because I think in our culture we are trained to just depend on ourselves over here. Because the idea is you are the owner of your life. You can do whatever you want if you tell yourself what to do, and it's actually letting go of that and depending on Jesus, and that's true humility too, right? And but with what you're saying, like that's something that I experienced as a 20-year-old, because that was the last time I was in India. We went to one of the villages, and my uncle is also a missionary in the northern part of India. And what he does, he goes to like these villages and starts churches. And we walked into this room that was literally a hut, just made of clay and whatever. And it was maybe 7 to 8 hours from like the closest city that had power and running water and whatever. And you go to this place, they did their church service, and about 100 people showed up. And here I am, like in my
which is amazing.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Can we just pause at that moment? Yes.
It is. It is.
The average church in America is about 70.
Yeah.
So
wild.
you're in a village in a clay hut 8 hours away from the nearest electricity, and
Yeah.
100 people
Yeah.
show up for church.
That's awesome.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's desperation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. People, when they, especially in that culture, when they've believed in a God that is a statue and they follow a life that is filled with, like, if you do this, if you sacrifice this, you're going to experience something that is out of this world.
Mm-hmm.
They give that all up and actually experience God's presence. They're like, what the heck is this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like they're desperate. And I think too, like my Jeremiah and I talk about what is, I'm kind of going on a tangent,
No,
but
it's
like,
great.
even about worship, like
Yeah.
what makes worship different is actually desperation. People showing up being like, Lord, I need you. Right. Anyways, now coming back to this, like here I am showing up to this church, in my fancy clothes and looking at these kids barely have like any clothes on because they're so poor. And I'm like, okay, this is kind of interesting. But the joy that they carried, and I
Yeah.
might get emotional about it,
Yeah.
was nothing that I've ever seen before. And that changed everything in me. I was like, Lord, here I am. I was like 20 years old, got the newest iPhone back then, and then got my, my AirPods or whatever, walking in with everything, and hear these kids who are 7 and 6 who have nothing.
Yeah.
And the laughter and the joy that they had, I was like, Lord, I want that. Like that is something. And I keep thinking about it because I'm like, so what does it take? It's giving everything up.
And see, here's the thing. Once you believe that material things make you happy, you have chains around you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are no longer free.
Yeah.
And I just don't think we realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you know that you can be free of that and have peace and have joy and have what you need because God is with you,
Yeah.
there's something about that
Yeah.
is really different. And I think there's probably a dozen or more things like that,
Yeah.
that once you start realizing, I actually don't need that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need people to tell me I did a good job.
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
And once you don't, boy, there's a freedom there.
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like
100%.
Yeah.
that's a crazy thing.
Yeah.
And I think there's a bunch of things like that once we're free of it, you're like, man, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I don't want to slide into that again.
Yeah.
You know?
It's that realization that everything that you do need does come from him.
Yes.
Because I think there's a difference in mentality between like, I don't need a good job because you're like, screw you, world,
Yeah.
right? Like, because that's
Yeah.
one mentality to have.
Right.
Like, nobody
Yeah.
needs to tell me good job. I'm just going to say what I say,
Yeah, totally.
But then there's another reality of knowing that like, hey, I have the Lord. Like
Right.
Yes.
if I'm Scott, one of the first times I taught here, you said to me, all you have to do is tell the truth and be obedient.
Yeah.
And if you've done that, then you've done all you needed to do.
Yeah.
That was freedom for me. Because it was a reminder of like, what am I doing this for?
Yeah.
You know, for the Lord, for obedience to him, for partnership with him. And when you find that, that everything truly is found in him,
Yeah.
that's freedom.
Yeah.
But it's so hard, specifically here where
Yeah.
we are,
Yeah.
to live into that
Yeah.
because of all of the temptations around us and all of the different things that want to put chains on us
Yep.
each and every day.
That's right.
I'm curious, Josh, you talked about worship for a minute. How do you see people experience freedom in worship?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm talking about like corporate worship, but there's like worship
Totally.
is a big category, but
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
have you experienced that? You've been in
Yeah.
the worship world for a long time.
Yeah. I think there's a few things in it. One is, I might be biased a little bit because I'm part of the worship team, but I'm going to get a little bit nerdy if it's okay. I believe that, like, kind of what you're saying, if we fully believe that everything is from God and to God, music is from God and for him. And I go to the level of how he even created frequencies, right? If you really think about it, everything that's around us right now is put together because there's a frequency that's vibrating in it. Like even us, if something goes wrong, it'll probably explode, right? I think about that, and like music is all frequencies. Like every note that we play is frequency, and I think the Lord has created that because He knows when you engage in something that He's actually created and aligned you to do, there's going to be some healing in it. So in like from a spiritual perspective, I think once you experience God's presence where you are, that's automatically, I think, gonna bring freedom and healing. I think from like a different realm, maybe Scott, I think you can speak more into this more than I can. But I think worship is a point where theology, psychology, and neuroscience kind of comes into place, because if you look at the Bible, like the angels are singing holy, 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 and they are not bored by it, and they're still singing it. They're singing. There's something in repetition that actually breaks you from what you're going through.
I agree.
So when I think about worship, when you're in a certain season of, it could be a physical thing, an emotional thing, a mental thing that you're going through, there's something beautiful in the repetition, because as you're actually, I think this is called neuroplasticity, maybe.
It is actually.
Look at you go.
The more I get kind of, I love these things.
Yeah.
The more and more you say certain things, I'm going to take it like the spiritual route, because the Bible says, renew your mind, like fix your mind on things that are pure and lovely and that are good. So when you're in a season going through whatever it could be, and you claim, Lord, you are good. You are a good Father. You're going to come through. Your brain actually is hearing your own voice saying that over and over again, and it's actually creating this pathways in your brain. Not that you're going to get out of the situation, but how you look at it is going to be different. And that itself is freedom right there, right? You're not held down by what the world is telling you, being like, well, you're going through this kind of sickness, man, and this is what actually it's going to land to be. But in that season, you're saying, God, I believe that you are the creator. I believe that you are my healer. I believe that you can heal me in a snap of a finger, and I'm going to just wait on you. And saying that and just resting on the promises of God, singing worship songs, which, again, like I said, the frequencies of music and whatever, all that miraculous thing God has created, there's something that actually even happens not only in the supernatural realm, but in your body. And I think it realigns certain things. And it's one of the most freeing thing that anyone can do.
Yeah.
But
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think one of the things that for me is a non-mystery about worship choruses is that it is the right combination of a transcendent idea and repetition of phrase that actually frees your consciousness to allow you to start to lend your consciousness to God. Yeah. And so you are able to stay present in the moment.
Yeah.
And you're still focused, but you are now open to communicating with God in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I really do think that. And I think that worship has a physical dynamic. And I think people don't fully appreciate that. I love the words in Hebrew for worship. A lot of times are posture words.
Yes. Yeah.
And so there's a sense of where posture seemed to matter to these people a lot, and it somehow was communicating that how they were before the Lord physically mattered to them.
Yeah.
And so very cool, Josh.
Yeah, I think that's so good. And I think there's, like, when you are worshiping, like, obviously, like, worshiping in song and movement is, it's biblical, right?
Yeah.
We see that. And like you're saying, like, it does something in you, in your body, in your mind, in your spirit. But the coolest thing about it is that if I'm focused on, like, God, and the way he loves me and receiving that love and then giving it back to him, it's interesting because it creates this pattern, but then what it does is compels me outside of myself. Like there is something between me and God in this moment when I'm worshiping, but that always leads me to my next action outside of myself. And I think that that's like one of the points of freedom that's found in worship is like, it's not just for us. Like we do find this freedom in Jesus, and it is good. And like, he's honestly like so glad for us just to find that, like with him. He loves that. He celebrates that. He rejoices in it. But for that to compel us outside of ourselves
Yeah.
to share that with others is like the ultimate,
Yeah.
right? To go beyond where we are right now and
Totally.
into the world around us
Totally.
and take that outwards is the ultimate. And I think that that's the tension that the world
Yeah.
plays with,
And-
right?
and I think too, like worship songs sometimes actually give a verbiage to what we can't put words to, and that's why I love like listening to worship in some of my like darkest moments of my life. I have a playlist on my phone. It's called This Season, which I created like a few years ago when I was going through a hard time, but now it's become every day, which is great because like there's some songs there that I just really love. The Lord has met me in it. That has become like my daily sustenance because I need it. I need Him to purify my mind and renew my mind. And but there's some longing in my soul that even I don't know what's happening, that God is actually working deep within, you know. And I'm like, when I hear certain verbiage in a song that actually hits that thing, and I'm like, oh, this is what I was trying to communicate, but I didn't know what that was. And automatically my response to that is I'm going to be on my knees, or I'm going to be weeping, or my hands are going to go up before even I know it. And that's the beauty of worship is, like I said, like just the way that God has wired us, like certain emotions, which He's created, certain, you know, chord progression that He's also created. When it comes together, it creates something in you to respond back to Him. It's almost like, you know, we're not being robotic, but like that's the power of, you know, His presence. That's the power of music too, is that we're designed to be creatures who, you know, respond to Him. And that's what they tell you, like, hey, go find yourself. If you're gonna find yourself, go to the nature. You know, which they don't say it in my culture at all. They're like, finding yourself means just go to school. You're not taking a year off. That's a side. That's a whole different.
There's no such thing as a gap year.
Podcast. Yeah. But I don't know if that makes sense or not. But
That's awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I love it. As we kind of end today, I'm wondering, in this moment, where we are in America right now, 250 years anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, how should we be praying for the church in America? How should we be praying even for ourselves as part of the church, right, in America, to live into this moment with the freedom that we do have?
Yeah, I have heard this saying years ago, God has no grandchildren. And I think there's a lot in that. It's a simple sentence, but there's a lot in that, which means every generation needs to come alive to God.
Yeah.
And needs to be able to fully look and live like Jesus.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, we're not the witnesses to our generation
that's
that's
good.
here. And so it's not our parents' job, and it's not our children's job. It's our job.
Yeah.
And we need to be able to rise to that occasion and not just tell them that we're a Christian or make demands on them because we're a Christian, but live something out that is so intoxicating and is so powerful that they want to do it with us.
Yeah.
And I think
That's
that
really good.
that is what we should be praying for.
That's really good.
That's awesome. I think so too. I was thinking about this earlier, and I felt like the idea is we're Christians who happen to be, no, we're Americans who happen to be Christians. What if it got flipped? What if it was, you know, we're actually citizens of the kingdom who happen to live in America? Like, what does that change? Like, how does that change? And I think when we come to that point, like, God's going to actually stir things in our hearts about these are the things I actually want you to contend for, because this does not align with what's happening, and again with what you're saying too, Scott. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Josh, would you pray for everyone listening today
100%.
as we close?
Yeah, of course. Heavenly Father, we just want to thank you. God, we want to thank you for this time. And God, we want to thank you for this nation and the freedom that we get to experience as actually citizens of this country, but more than that, just citizens of who you've called us to be. God, you call us to be sons and daughters. God, I pray that that would be the true identity that we step into more than anything, more than even sometimes our political views. God, I pray that we can step into sons and daughters of you. God, I pray that that even if people are listening to this podcast, that you would just meet them, Father. God, I pray that as we celebrate 250 years, that our posture would be to look up to you and thank you, and to glorify you, to thank you for the things that you've blessed us with. God, sometimes we take even tiny things for granted. We take the breath in our lungs for granted. We take running water for granted. We take shelter over our head for granted. I pray, Lord Jesus, that those are the things that you point out, and that we can just be grateful for, and that we can point that all back to you, Jesus. Again, thank you for this time, and we just ask this all in your mighty and precious name, Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. It's been fun to be with you guys today. As always, we invite everyone who's listening to join us in person on Sundays at one of our campuses in northern Illinois or southern Wisconsin. And if you can't join us in person, although we really want you to, you can join us at live.chapel.org at 9 and 11 a.m. as well. And we'll see you guys soon.